This is music, and this is a cassettatious video, and probably a new word too. This is a response video to a response video to another video. The first link in this chain was a video that Riggin Records did, where he showed his top 10 favorite cassette tapes from his collection. Then Garage Geek made a response video, thus turning it into a thread officially, and his spin was 10 cassette tapes he was proud to have in his collection. And go and check out those two channels, they're awesome VC channels. So this is my response, and my spin is 10 cassette tapes from my collection that are meaningful to me. I actually want to give a shout out to the Death Doom Metalhead and to Melanie Loves Death Metal as well. Those are also awesome channels here on YouTube. They inspired me to get back into collecting cassette tapes because they've shown so many awesome underground death metal cassette tapes. Anyways, let's get down to business. 10 cassette tapes from my collection that are meaningful to me. Ironically, this is not music. This is called Dirk Passer It, which means Dirk Passer 1. Dirk Passer is this guy here. He was a comedian and an actor. So this is the first cassette tape in a series of cassette tapes, and I only have this one. But it has been with me since I was a kid, and it was originally my parents' tape. This is a compilation of sketches and monologues he did. I have a couple of similar compilations on vinyl. He also did movies and theater and so on and so forth. Legendary Danish comedian. Have lots of good memories of listening to this together with my brother, laughing our heads off. So obviously a very important cassette tape to me. Great stuff if you understand Danish, and I guess if you have a Danish sense of humor. Up next, this is not music either. This is Tintin. This is called Alle Tiders Tintin. So what the hell is a Tintin? I hear you all ask now. Growing up in a northern European country, I was fortunate enough to have access to both American superhero comics and frankly more important to me, European album comics, and also strip comics, not strip tees, but comic strips, you know what I mean. And in particular from the French and Belgian comic book traditions, because they have very rich comic book traditions. And Tintin, this character, is a Belgian comic book character, and the Tintin comics have been hugely influential in Europe. And in Denmark, there were Danish translations of them, and there were also a series of cassette tapes with kind of audio plays. So audio play versions, audio theater versions of the Tintin comics. And this one here, this tape is kind of a clip show that features clips from, if not all, then most of the radio plays or audio plays that were released on cassette tapes in Danish. This particular one has not been with me since I was a kid, but I have a handful of cassette tapes that, you know, with these stories on that have sort of been with me since I was a kid. So, but this kind of represents all of those. This one was a cassette tape my significant other picked up for me. She saw it in a antique store and picked it up for me, and that kind of was a catalyst for me getting interested in starting to collect cassette tapes. And then the Death Doom Metalhead and Melanie Loves Death Metal really kind of kickstarted that afterwards. So there you go. Tintin. Now let's turn to some music. I think I've shown most of these cassette tapes actually. This one I have shown, I know this. AC/DC, Flick of the Switch. This was the first AC/DC album I ever had. and it was given to me by my parents. They had it in their collection, and my parents knew that I was getting into hard rock and heavy metal, and instead of trying to discourage that, they encouraged me to, explore music because, it's healthy to have hobbies, you know what I mean? So they gave me this cassette tape, and how cool is that to have parents actually encouraging you to listen to hard rock and metal rather than trying to discourage you from doing that. When I first heard it, it was not rewound, so it was in the middle of a Brian Johnson scream, so it was a bit too much for me. I didn't like it the first time I heard it, but I gave it another shot the next day and got completely hooked on it. So there you go, a very important cassette tape to me. Up next, Star Wars, Krieg der Sterne. So this is a German release with... on side A, you have the Star Wars soundtrack. And what's really kind of like cool about this is that on side B, you have some elements from the soundtrack from 2001, A Space Odyssey. Why is that? Well, that's because this is from 1978, and the only Star Wars soundtrack that was out back then was from the first one, A New Hope. So I think they just didn't have enough material for an entire tape just with that, so they boosted it with some tunes from Space Odyssey. Now, this was another tape that my significant other picked up in the same antique store, so obviously that's another reason why it's very important to me, because my significant other picked it up for me, right? Very nice of her. Okay. Up next, Trend, self-titled, and Courage, or Courage, God's Creation. Now, these two cassette tapes are demo tapes from the 90s, and they're from the Odense underground heavy metal scene from the early 90s. Odense is a city or town, depending on how you look at it. And that's where I grew up. And that's also where Hans Christian Andersen was born. Weird flex, I know. Now, that town had a thriving underground metal and hard rock scene back in the day. Back when I got involved in that scene, it was more like thrash metal and extreme metal. But before that, you had lots of like traditional heavy metal bands too. And one thing that we would do was at shows, the different local bands and also like bands visiting from other towns would have stands, and they would sell their demo tapes. So the demo tape was the primary type of release for underground bands back in the early 90s. So we would buy those, and I used to have a much larger collection of demo tapes back in the 90s, but they have fallen victim to the jaws of time, I guess. But I actually found these last year at my parents' place. This one here is hard rock, traditional metal. This one here is kind of funk metal, groove metal. And I listened to both of them last year. And I loved these when I was a kid, or a young man, I guess, back in the 90s. But listening to them now, it's not great music, but it's kind of charming, underground charming music. So these are very important to me. They're also the only survivors of my demo tape collection. Maybe I don't know, maybe the others are somewhere at my parents' place. I don't know. Okay, moving on to this one here, Beyond Salvation by the Angels. And this one is meaningful and important to me because it was given to me by BVD, a member of the vinyl community. Another awesome channel, so check out his channel. And actually this one too here, Dirty Looks, Cool from the Wire. This one was given to me by Metal Marty Mac, another VC channel. So these are obviously important to me because they were given to me by very, very generous people, awesome members of the vinyl community, and the music on them is awesome too. It's kind of like, both of them are kind of like hard rock bands, and they're great, But when I listen to them, I'm also reminded of how awesome the vinyl community is and how generous the members of the vinyl community are, and especially how cool BVD and Metal Marty Mac are. So check out those channels as well. But that's just another kind of nice thing about these cassette tapes, right? They remind me of the awesome vinyl community. This one here, Vow Wow Cyclone. This is a Japanese traditional heavy metal hard rock band. This is awesome. This is an amazing heavy metal hard rock. It kind of stretches from heavy metal and hard, yeah, like AOR, hard rock and heavy metal. That's all on this cassette tape. Just fantastic guitar work and melodies. It's great. I love this cassette tape, and I since picked up a vinyl version of this. Now this one is actually quite meaningful to me because this was the first cassette tape I picked up on my own in the wild post COVID lockdowns. So that's actually a historical moment, right? And I picked it up the first time I went to the brick and mortar store of, you guessed it, Mephisto, one of the awesome record stores we have here in Copenhagen. So I bought some cassette tapes online from Mephisto before because I just wanted to support that store, because he opened his shop, Mephisto, a couple of weeks before the first COVID lockdown hit. So, obviously wanted to support that awesome record store. But this was the first cassette tape I picked up post-COVID in the wild, and the first cassette tape I picked up on my own in the wild in 30 years, probably 30 years, if not more. And it's great as well. So Vow Wow Cyclone. And this one here, the last one, Sandstorm Desert Warrior. This was one of those cassette tapes I bought from Mephisto in the web shop. And this one is important to me because it represents modern day cassette tapes, which I really love. I love modern day cassette tapes, and I actually pick up a lot of new releases on cassette tape because it is the cheapest so far physical music medium. So it's actually a way to grab new music and check it out and support the artists and the underground labels and also the more mainstream labels without going broke, if you know what I mean. So that's what this one represents. And also, me, I guess, picking up, because I've done that a lot recently, picking up like underground releases that are new releases, but they're only released on cassette tape. Not only that, this is actually an awesome EP, Sandstorm, Desert Warrior. The music is traditional heavy metal, kind of like the revivalist traditional heavy metal or new wave of traditional heavy metal, with lots of nods to 80s new wave of British heavy metal and 80s European heavy metal in general. But the sound has more of a 70s hard rock and the guitar tone, right? A 70s hard rock kind of slightly distorted, overdriven twang. And the songs on here, as far as I remember, there are like 4 songs. They're all awesome, but especially the last one, Power of the Pyramids. It's just a fantastic heavy metal song. So there you go, 10 cassette tapes from my collection that are meaningful to me and represent different things to me, some eras of my life, some activities, some kind of historic events in my own life history, and my buying patterns and collecting patterns and things like that. So there you go. Now again, check out Riggin Records, awesome VC channel. Check out Garage Geek, awesome, informative, educational VC, really more like collecting channel, I would say. Check out the Death Doom Metalhead and Melanie Loves Death Metal, awesome kind of extreme metal themed VC channels. Check out BVD Aussie Metalhead and Metal Marty Mac. They're just awesome heavy metal themed VC channels. Thanks for watching.